you talk about a film after you've seen a film, then that is all that matters, really, isn't it? If it starts, it's not supposed to finish the conversation, it's just supposed to start the conversation, I think. I'm Loyle Carner, rapper, should have been a footballer from South London. Becoming a rapper was purely by accident. I was at university and my father sadly passed away, and so it got to the point where I had to drop out, and my plan was to get a job as a chef. And then we got asked to play a support tour because we had like a few songs that were out. I was like, you know, I might actually give this rapping thing a proper go. This is my mum's house. I spent a lot of time with my dad here. My dad's record collection is over there in the back. Loads of jazz, blues, folk, you know, David Bowie, Leonard Cohen, Bob Dylan, etc. And it was all storytelling. So when I went off to find music to inspire them, it had to be the same thing. So I would kind of bring back rappers that I was a fan of who were telling stories, you know. Dialogue is massively important for me in films. It's really my little brother who kind of, not put me onto it, but we kind of started to discuss it more and more because he writes a lot of films. We both are heavily inspired by Bob Dylan, and when I listen to Bob Dylan, it makes me want to go write a song. When he listens to Bob Dylan, he wants to go write a play. Just because we're putting our words down in two different forms doesn't mean that we are that far apart, you know. So he's like, yeah, one of my biggest critics. I think I chose Oasis Supersonic because growing up, the Oasis's music was something that was in my house, in the car, my nan's house. That's all I used to hear. I've always loved them, kind of love to hate them, also hate to love them. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just, they are what they are. But yeah, there was just something about this documentary in particular that I think captures them as people, which is rare to be able to be done so well later on.
I do remember one hotel, the whole bedroom went out the window. Mattress, pillows, everything. If it moves, fling it.
I could never understand it. You know, hotel rooms being smashed up. That's like hard work. You get sweat on?
What do you do? Go to bed at 10 o'clock every night? I don't think so. You know, you only get it once. You're going to live it to the full. Have it.
I wouldn't say being in a band with your sibling is a bad thing, or working with your sibling or a friend is a bad thing, but I just think you kind of have to nurture this separate beast that then can sometimes get in the way of your relationships. But it happens, you know. I reckon they wouldn't have changed it for the world. And that's what makes them so brilliant, is because the camera's on, the camera's off, it doesn't matter. Things are going well, things are going bad, it doesn't matter. They look ridiculous, they look fantastic, it doesn't matter. And I think that's what makes them so captivating to watch, because they are able to be truly themselves on camera. Anyone who can be themselves on camera is captivating, because that's where the true beauty lies, you know what I'm saying? I don't feel like I'm like either of them. I'd like to think I'm kind of slap bang in the middle, because I do both of their jobs, do you know what I mean? One of them was writing, one of them was singing. Maybe I'm like a hybrid with better hair.
Go on, eat it then.
Trying to imagine what it'd be like to get called up for the World Cup, you know what I mean? I could get called up, I could do an Ian Wright. I'm waiting for it. I've got the moves.
Good girl.
What appealed to me about Bending Like Beckham when I first watched it was women playing football. Because when I was at school, there was a girl in my class who was the best at football, better than all the boys. And when I was younger, obviously it didn't mean anything to me because I didn't see the divide between men and women when it came to football. Like most good films, it takes something that's very important and puts it alongside a very simple storyline. You're really talking about something that's completely different to women playing football, but it's more about the culture shock of this family coming to the UK and wanting to have one foot in their own history and one foot in their new beginning. I don't know, I always feel like ist is a bad word because there's like racist, fascist. But yes, if feminist is a positive thing, then that is exactly what I am. Because, you know, my mum is who raised me, my grandmother is who raised me. I don't think there's anything different between men and women. When you really get down to it and you watch these girls play football, there is no difference. And also it's like, I guess, like a look into another culture for me. Because she, you know, her parents aren't from the UK, and so she cooks different food. She talks about making good chapatis, which I've always wanted to be able to make, but I can't. So, but if I have a daughter, which I hope I do, I would like to watch that film with her. Family to me is everything, really. I'm very close to my mum, my little brother, my missus, so those are the things that pop up in my life, you know, and those are the things that pop up on the page. Kitchen sink drama is kind of what I live for, and I think when I make music, when I write, I guess the beauty in the mundane is something I always find fascinating. East Disease for me, I guess is warm and upbeat, but I think it's got quite a dark undercurrent. Do you know what I mean? It's truthful. I remember watching it when I was really young and just being so blown away because I had friends who'd grown up and I knew nothing about their culture. And so what for me was fascinating, kind of growing up, spending a lot of time in Tooting, was seeing, you know, the other side to it and, you know, how beautiful and brilliant their cultures can be at sometimes, and also some of the difficulties that they face with it. I thought what was wicked was the way that they touched on pre-arranged marriage.
And how old are you?
Not old enough to get married, so don't ask me.
So I didn't.
I'm sorry about him, Mr. Shah. He's just been circumcised.
What's strange about the characters in it is they're all so flawed. The scene in the chip shop where the dad actually beats the mum, I think is important. You hate him for it, but you don't hate all of him. And when you see that she still loves him for the other side of him, then you still love him. And it's quite a weird thing, especially I was so young. So, you know, sitting there at however old I was, like 6 or 7, it was confusing, but brilliant. There's just so much depth to all the characters, and I guess it's nice because it is funny, but it's not kind of a caricature. I don't think that it makes fun, it makes it humorous so that you're able to enjoy it and watch it, but the meaning behind it is important. Pulp Fiction I actually first watched when I was about 7 or 8. So I was at my gran and granddad's house and my granddad had it on DVD. And so I went over to pick it up and it said it contains sex and violence, and I was like, those are my 2 favourite things. So the first time I watched it, I skipped it because I was just trying to find the fight scenes and the sex scenes. A few years later, I watched it again with my little brother, who was really young, and he was hooked and then I was hooked. The characters, Samuel Jackson is my favourite character, and I think he's petrifying, but also you feel like you could be friends with him, and I think that is one of the most incredible character traits that you can ever offer, you know, someone who you are actively scared of, but also want to be friends with, you know?
This is a tasty burger. Vincent, you ever had a Big Kahuna burger? Want a bite? They're real tasty. Ain't hungry. Well, if you like burgers, give them a try sometime. Me? I can't usually get them because my girlfriend's a vegetarian, which pretty much makes me a vegetarian, but I do love the taste of a good burger.
It's kind of one of the things you can talk about forever and can't get to the bottom of why it's genius. It just is genius. Once you see that people can get on and do their own thing and be deeply original and mess with everything from form, structure, dialogue, characters, why can't you do it, you know? It was definitely a stepping stone for me, and for my little brother, it was nice to see him be inspired by it, because then that made me rediscover it and then rediscover my inspiration from it, you know, through him. Independent cinema especially is telling stories that aren't being told. It's not for the masses, but then becomes for the masses, you know? If you have everything and money is no object and location is no object, then there's no suffering, you know, there's no stress, which is where the best stuff comes from.